In this video, I would like to show you how to create such a product. Here it's a business card, in my case. And I have here a number that has like empty spaces in between. Also, I don't want the customer to select or enter his country code. He should select it from a drop-down list like you see here in this example. Right? So I'm going to enter like that. My number. Very intuitive. Click on preview and you will see on the right side that these values are taken. So let me show you how to do that within uStore and also InDesign, and how to adjust it with the help of CSS. Enjoy. Let me start with in InDesign. Let's go to variables. We need to create some variables for this task. Let's start with telephone, telephone country. That's going to be a drop-down list later on. And it could have, for example, 49 as a value. Just make sure that you assign it to be campaign dial, because we will need to change that value later on in the shop. So let's continue. It's tell city. That's going to be a selection of the city. In my case, I would like here to be something like that. Let's continue with tell middle. So it's going to be tell middle. And here we can write something like 5 letters or whatever. And then tell end, something like I don't know, this last 3 letters or whatever. This is just an example. At the end, we also need a placeholder for the variable. So I'm calling that var CSS. It's also a campaign dial, and there will be nothing in the placeholder, just empty. It should be enough. But we need to show that on the business card. So let's switch here to the doors. Create a new door called telephone. It is not a campaign dial, but it will use several informations. So our 4 variables that we just created, telephone country, then an empty space, then and, etc. Let me put that inside from my clipboard. Here we go. So I have country, city, middle, and. Let's check, because there's not so much space here. Let's see. It looks fantastic. If I click on OK, it should not complain. As you see, I'm working against an XMPy server. So here's my result. And of course, I need to add that to my layout. Now, after that, I need to produce, proof and process. And after that, I can continue with uStore. So next step is going to be uStore. After making the proof and process and verifying and adding those IDs, job IDs to uStore, and also checking those boxes, I'm saving my product in uStore. So let's enter the customization wizard now. You see here at the variables our new values. And let's move country, city, middle, and the variable CSS placeholder to the right side. Please enter telephone country. And I've already done that. Change it to telephone, the display name. That's what the customer will see. And also the drop-down to the drop-down list, if you want it to look like that. My values are entered already. Save it, back, and let's place it online. Why? Because we need to enter the product and modify it with the inspect function, in my case of Firefox. So I'm entering it, the telephone, going here in the elements, and you can adjust it here. So first of all, I want the position to be relative. That's how I can move that. So then I will, before we do that, we need to adjust the width. So it's going to be maybe 80 pixels. If I'm entering it, you see that it's already moving. So something like this, yeah, 60 pixels should be enough. Position relative, that's important. And also, if we enter left, I can now say minus 50 pixels, and then it's moving. I have to do that manually because it depends on the language. It depends on so many factors, and I don't want it to appear strange. So that's why I have to do it manually. So I'm putting that to left, let's say 100 pixels. Later on, we have to move that information to another place. Anyhow, then we move on to the next one, telephone city. This here, we can say display none because we don't want to see that text, but we want the text box. So let's inspect the text box, go in here, position, relative, and then top minus 20 pixels. Something like that should be perfect, but it doesn't look that nice. So let's adjust here the width to width equals 50 pixels. Okay, because it's moving up. It looks a bit strange, but I guess this will be enough for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we can do that to 45. Also, the top needs to be changed now that it jumped up. And also, we have to move it now to the left, so we do that, minus 20 pixels. Something like that. So now you have two fields. They still will work, so whatever you enter, it will move to the layout on the right side. In my case, this is not 5, it's just 3 letters, so I can probably make it like that looking, something like that. Right? 1, 2, 3, something like that. Make it a bit bigger. And now let's move to telephone number, middle. Same thing. We are removing with display none that name, and then moving with, first let's start with a width. It's gonna be something like 50 pixels width, and you see this is the position. So then we say top minus 50, no, minus 50 pixels. And of course, position relative. Otherwise, it will not move up. Here we go. I have my placeholder for the left. Now, let's see how we can solve that, because it looks like it's kind of moving to the next line. So we will do the same thing as we did before, display none on the text. And now let's go on the text box and say position relative width to, again, 50 pixels. No way, it has to be without the empty space. And now let's see if we can move it to the top. Minus 60 pixels. No, not enough. So something like that, and then left 20. Oh, again, not added the pixel value. That's how it could look like. Now, of course, it doesn't look that nice that we still have here the variable, and I mean, you have maybe to adjust it. It depends very much on the screen size, etc. But before we continue, we need to move all that CSS values that we have here at the moment to like I would use a text application like Notepad++ in my case, like here. Okay, and then we have to add those values that we have now added manually in the bottom to this text box in order to let the system adjust it automatically. So let's start with this one. Okay, so we select the drop-down list, copy the ID to the text box. Let's make it smaller. Hope this works. And then to adjust it, we use the hash mark. That's for the ID. And now we enter the values that we want to change. In this case, it's here. Let's have a look. Just copy pasting, and you see how it looks on the right. This is how it looks. Perfect. Now, this is for the text for the drop-down list. Now, let's move on. Let's adjust this one. So I'm copying again the input ID of this one, hash mark, string text box. And then in here, I'm copying that text. Okay, let's continue. Now, with the middle element here, so I'm copying that, hash mark, the value, nope, didn't copy it, hash mark, why doesn't it copy it? So let's do it again. Strange, it doesn't copy it anymore, so we will do it kind of manually. Copy, pasting it, again, open, close. So then that was this one, right? And here we also copy those information. Here we go. Adjusting it like that. Let's move on to the last one. Here we go. There it is, right? We're copying that value. Again, hash mark entering that. And then copying the values from the element section here on the right. Here we go. That's our CSS for the moment. Let's move it to the side. And this is what we're going to have in here. And then the telephone should appear like that. So let's try that out. So let's go to the customization wizard. Let's enter the var CSS, switch to HTML generic, enter the markup here, and also close it. That's never bad. Style, and also copy all the content that we had in our text application in here. Let's see if that's doing the job. Save it. Can be still visible to the customer. Customer will not see the content anyhow. Now let's put this product back online again and refresh and have a look what we get. Wonderful. Everything's stuck to the right place, and we can also test it. So let's refresh the preview. Okay, and when I'm changing it to 0, it should show up on the right side, exactly like we want it to be. We could still make sure that this is like 4 digits or 3 digits, etc. But also we need to take care of those elements here because it doesn't look that nice at the moment. So how to do that? We did that already before, but this time we copying those, right? Those IDs. Let's put them back in our text box just at the end, like that. And of course, the hash mark in the beginning. Then we can use a comma to make our work a little bit easier. Inspect the second one. Here we go. Copying it to the text file. Hash mark, comma at the end. And finally, text end. Let's try it again. Here we go. Copy and put it inside of the text box as the final element. Of course, don't forget the hash mark. Now, opening and closing it and writing here display none. That should be enough. Let's copy all that and place it inside of our offline made product, specifically the var CSS. Just make sure to have the style element still in place, as you see here. Style is still there. Now save it. Put the product online. And here we go. So now you have the possibility of changing the values. Let the customer enter, whatever he wants to, and decide that he needs to enter it. And then you have here on the right side the result the way you want it to be. If you need dashes between those numbers, okay, you can still place them inside of InDesign instead of inside of this rule, right? You go inside and you say, okay, it should be a dash, then it will be a dash and not showing up like that at the moment.